today we're going to be talking all about Christmas, our different memories that we had both as kids and also how we celebrated with our family as adults as well. So Curtis, why don't you start? I don't know. When you think about Christmas, for example, what is, mm, what comes to mind first, or where does Christmas start for you?
I would say an advent calendar. And what this is, it's a special calendar for Christmas. And each day is a special gift or treat that you get until Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So you're counting down the days until the most special gift on the last day in these calendars.
These calendars, they actually have the store-bought version, we could say, is kind of this cardboard, I don't know what it is, like a flat cardboard box, I guess. And
Yeah.
they have little doors that open. So you look and you see, okay, where's number one? Where's number two? And it's kind of like the numbers are scrambled sometimes, and you have to look and try to find the next door that you're supposed to open, or it's something like that. It's like,
Yeah.
you've got all of the different days up to number 24, and then you open up the door, and sometimes it's like a chocolate is inside, or it's a candy, or a toy, or something like that. I think there are obviously different advent calendars, but your mom was much more homemade with her
Hmm.
advent calendar. I think what she did was really, really special. It was very, very cool. Like for me, I was lucky if I got an advent calendar, with chocolate from the store. But what did
Right.
what did your mom do every year?
She made these fabric advent calendars where the doors were little pockets, and she went to this store called the dollar store where everything is about $1, and that's where she got everybody's specific gifts from. And then she would fill the pockets with all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I think a pair of socks, candies. And then as soon as we started traveling, there were things like, the travel size deodorant, whatever can fit in a little pocket. So it was actually kind of really exciting to see what you were going to get.
Yeah, it was cool. And at some point in time, I became part of the family, or your mom thought of me as one of the kids. Because, here's the thing, Curtis's mom, like if Curtis was still at home or in Kelowna, I am certain that both him and I would still get an advent calendar, even though
Yep.
we're definitely adults. So anyway, when we first started dating, I think maybe the first year, maybe the second year, I can't remember. But anyway, your mom, she actually made me an advent calendar, and I was so surprised that she did that for
You
me.
were.
And yeah, she handed it over, and it was this calendar. I can still remember how it looked. And within each of the pockets, there was a little gift. And I mean, she even hand wrapped every single item that she got from the store or wherever she picked them up. She hand wrapped them, and she put them in each pocket. And there was everything from, like, I don't know, chocolates and candies and knickknacks, just little weird things. Like some of them were really weird. You're like, why? But there might be like chapstick, maybe some lotion, a bar of soap. It could be like, well, one time she got me a rubber spatula that had a chicken on the end. And I still have that rubber spatula. I like it. It's one of my favorites.
You use it daily.
I pretty much use it daily. And if I'm not using it, I am using the rubber spatula that is the companion to the farmhouse that has a pig on it, which I found coincidentally here in Mexico. Super weird that I
Oh,
found
maybe
the
they have
companion. Yeah,
a whole collection of farm animals.
they do as spatulas. And I got it from Walmart. So maybe that's where your mom got it like 15 years ago, and they're still, you know, carrying these things. Anyway,
Yeah.
I like really, really weird things. Small things make me happy. And the advent calendars were a cool part of Christmas.
Yeah.
Now, what about stockings? And actually, I mean, when you're a kid, right? Stockings are filled by who? Who comes and fills the stockings?
Santa Claus.
All right. Now there's a ritual
Yeah.
that goes around that, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, what did you guys do for Santa?
Well, we actually had a fireplace in our house growing up, so we had a chimney, and that's where Santa Claus goes down, and you hang your stockings on the outside of the doors of the fireplace because he comes down the chimney and into your house, and quietly leaves all the presents around, and puts the stockings in each, or puts the presents in each of the stockings. I have two older brothers, so there were three of us. So we also had to leave milk and cookies out for Santa Claus because, he's been traveling around, and that's was the tradition as kids. And my mom used to buy carrots, and the carrots were for the Rudolph and the 12 reindeer.
Oh, okay. So you guys had to leave carrots out to feed the reindeer when they came to your
Yeah.
house. Okay.
And we had to behave, or we got no presents in our stocking but a lump of coal.
That was the famous threat. It's like you better behave yourself. Christmas is coming. And if you're not a good girl or a good boy, you're going to get a lump of coal in your stocking.
Yeah. I'll tell Santa to give your presents to some other kid who's been good.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. And how long or how old do you think you were when you truly believed in Santa versus like you weren't sure and then you were that defiant kind of, I don't know what it is, a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old where you're like, Santa's not real, like you want to act like you just discovered some new information.
I think probably around 11 or so, you start noticing that the milk and cookies change to something that dad eats all the time, a different type of snack, So it changed to maybe, some potato chips, cheesies, and beer.
Oh no, your dad didn't do that, did he? My dad did and still does like chocolate milk. That's his thing. So I think
Oh.
I don't think that we would have left regular milk out for Santa anyway. It definitely would have been chocolate milk, but chocolate milk and cookies for sure.
Yeah, but that ties nicely into the food around Christmas time.
Hmm.
That is something I never forget. Going over to my grandparents' place and seeing the coffee table filled with pot of gold and Laura Secord chocolates.
Those are like a couple of brands of chocolates, just so you guys know what we're talking about. Pot of Gold
Hmm.
brand chocolates. Uh-huh.
And then my grandma's baking shortbread cookies, cinnamon buns, and like all this like candy and junk food all on this table.
Hmm.
That's one thing I remember as well. So yeah, and what do you remember about the food aspect of Christmas?
Well, my grandma, I would say that my grandma was really the center of the family for sure. And all every Christmas, that's where the entire family went. But my grandma loved to cook and bake, and she loved having the family together. So she would start her Christmas baking. It's like a mission, you know. She was a homemaker, so her responsibility was cooking good food. My grandpa loved sweets, so it was always, cooking and baking sweets for him. And of course, making the food and keeping the house clean and things like that. So, December, oh, Christmas is coming, got to start the Christmas baking. She would make, you know how ice cream, it comes in the 4-liter pail, you know?
Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
She would have a pail or two of Christmas baking for everybody. Like, I don't think it was just us. It might
Oh,
have been
wow.
friends. It might have been, I don't know who got all of this Christmas baking, but she had, like, you open your bucket and there were sandwich cookies in there, which is like two
Nice.
cookies together with icing in the middle. She had shortbread, she had date squares, and Like, I don't know. It goes on and on and on with her Christmas baking. So, of course, all of that stuff was out on Christmas Day. We could have as much as we want, so that, yeah, lots and lots of baking and chocolate and sweets and eggnog.
Ooh,
I
eggnog. Yeah, I
love eggnog.
remember peppermint hot chocolate.
Peppermint hot chocolate.
Yeah, with a candy cane in it.
Oh, like, did your grandma make that?
Yeah, she used real cocoa as well when she made it.
Oh, nice.
So that was good. I remember that at Grandpa and Grandma's house because it was always cold in Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, really, really good. And my grandpa carving the turkey.
My grandpa carved the turkey as well. It's like a grandpa thing.
It's a grandpa thing. Grandpa doesn't do any kind of cooking, really. My grandpa didn't, but that he put on his apron and he sharpened his big knife.
My grandpa had an electric carving knife. It was like you probably remember it, that
I do. Hmm.
he would carve the turkey.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, my grandma's stuffing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are the main things that you had every Christmas? Like, what type of dishes? Because this is something that I think, for us, it's normal. We're like, oh, we're
Hmm.
Canadian, we have a normal Christmas dinner with all the normal things. But for somebody who's listening from Japan, for example, or I don't know,
Hmm.
somewhere in Europe, even the Ukraine or something like that, they
Hmm.
probably have very, very different dishes than what we typically have. So, what sort of items would you typically see at Christmas dinner?
Always cabbage rolls, pierogies, and mashed potatoes, sour cream and bacon bits would go on those, or really good gravy.
Gravy.
Oh, gravy! Yeah, and my grandma had this gravy boat with the ladle, I think it's called, the spoon that you.
Yeah, it's like that is such a grandma thing. Like when you talk about the fine china
Yeah,
and Christmas dinner, it's like, they had a special set of plates that they
yep,
only used once a year. And there was always, I mean, it was like the main plate, and then they had the side plates, and they had the teacups and the saucers, and the gravy boat that kind of matched the whole ensemble, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, and the fancy cutlery, the forks and knives, and the goblets, or the glasses, the fancy glasses.
Oh, yeah.
And we had to dress up. You had to look your best, be sharp for grandpa and grandma.
That's right.
So my brothers and I, we had ties on and everything, and we really had to look sharp.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, no, you got to dress up. This is a special occasion. Everybody's got to look their best. Yeah. And at my grandparents' place, what we usually did was we would always have Christmas dinner. It would always be in the evening, and everybody would arrive around like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Of course, each family kind of does their own thing with their kids. They've got, the stockings and whatever it is that they do. But then after lunchtime, everybody headed up to grandma's house, or grandma and grandpa's house, I should say. But I
Mhm.
don't know why we refer to it as grandma's house. But anyway, we headed up to their house, and we would open presents. We would spend really a couple of hours opening presents, and it was very organized, not in a way that was like strict, but they would have one person would open a gift at a time, and everybody would watch the person that opened it, and then
Oh,
one of the
okay.
kids would be under the tree trying to distribute the presents so that everybody had one present each. And we would kind of go around the circle and open our gifts. So it ended up taking a couple of hours usually to get through the presents. What was it like in your house?
In my house, it was everybody rip into your presents all at once.
Really?
Yeah, and then as we kind of got older and stuff, there was more of an organization thing similar to what you did, where yeah, one person hands out the presents, and then you go around the circle, and. whatever order you're sitting in the living room is basically the next person to open the present.
Yeah, like it's your turn next and
When
okay.
I was a kid, I couldn't wait. I had zero patience. I was like, ah, so my parents had to put a little bit of control on that after, a couple of years.
Okay, and you created more of an organized system. Yeah. You know, one
Mhm.
one other thing that's kind of interesting that I wanted to share just about the way that my family handled the Christmas purchases, I guess, and who buys presents for who, because this really, really varies from family to family. For some people, there's no limit on the budget. You can buy whatever you want for whoever you want. It doesn't matter at all. But then for other families, there are some financial restrictions, or maybe they don't have an endless budget. I think most people are probably in that category. And Christmas can be a really, really stressful time because you need to buy a present for everybody if that's your expectation. But anyway, a long, long time ago, what my grandparents decided to do was to draw names. And
Oh,
what
yeah.
they did was every Thanksgiving, actually, which, by the way, in Canada, our Thanksgiving is in October, where the American Thanksgiving is in November. So every October, we got together with the family and had our Thanksgiving dinner and we would draw names for Christmas. So they would put all the names into the hat or into a hat or a bowl or whatever object was lying around. And whoever, like me, I was one of the youngest or the youngest all the time. So I usually helped to pull the name out of the hat. And it was like, for example, my uncle, his name is Greg, and my mom, her name is Leslie. So I would pull out the first name and it would be like, okay, Leslie. And then it would be like the next name that comes out buys for Greg. And my mom
Oh,
would be purchasing whatever gift for my Uncle Greg. But then Greg isn't necessarily going to be buying for Leslie. Greg might be buying for my grandpa, for example, or he might be buying something for me. So
whoever's
it wasn't like
name
a
gets drawn.
straight gift exchange. It was like somebody bought one present for another person, and the maximum value of the gift was $50 because they thought that that was reasonable, and everybody would be able to afford that in their budget. So that's
Yeah,
how
great
we
idea.
handled our. Oh, and I have to add too that the kids always got a present. So they weren't included in the gift exchange. All of the adults always bought something small for the kids. We had a really small family, so that was like, for me, it was like I bought something for my nephew and niece, and that was it. There were no other kids.
I like the $50 limit, and that's, not going to break the bank. And it's, you can get some pretty decent, like a gift card or,
Mhm.
for Netflix or I don't know what, but you can get a gift card for somebody for that much, and basically they get what they want.
Well, you got some really good gifts from my grandma. Like, she had really good taste in men's sweaters.
Yeah. Yeah, and you usually hear around this time of year about those really cheesy looking Christmas sweaters. Not your grandma. She knew.
She
She
had
knew what.
taste.
Yeah, she had taste and she knew my style, and I still have that sweater.
You have both sweaters, the orange one
Oh yeah,
and
the
the
orange one.
brown with the blue. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like two-toned wool.
Oh, but it's so warm. Not that I need it here in Mexico, but in some places where we go, like the higher elevation places, it's definitely handy. So yeah, I brought it with me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And maybe one last thing that we can talk about. What about decorating? Like I know for my family, we always had an artificial Christmas tree and I remember decorating it in our house. And my dad, he used to hang up some outdoor Christmas lights. I think some of them, like the ones that are on the edge of the roof, I think maybe he just left them there all year. But he did hang up um, some extra ones on some of the bushes and stuff at some point in time.
Oh yeah, I remember my dad went all out. He really liked Christmas lights. Being in a band, he had these stage lights, which were like multicolored stage lights, and he called them floodlights. So they were green and red. The green and red ones he used because those are kind of Christmas colors. Plus, all the other lights around the house looked really, really good. But unfortunately, he stopped using them because sad thing, somebody came around and either wrecked them or stole them.
Oh,
He tried a couple of times and he's like, okay, we're just putting up the normal ones. And in Edmonton, people just leave them on the houses because it's just too cold to take them down,
yeah.
and people forget about them.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what happened with my dad as well, that, like you put them up in maybe November when it's still okay and there's not snow. But I mean, who wants to be out on January 15th in the middle of winter with a bunch of snow around on a ladder trying to take down Christmas lights? Like nobody, you know?
No.
So we just leave them up and then spring comes and then it's like, well, they've already been up for a few months. Hmm.
Yeah. And then decorating the inside, my family had a family tradition of putting the tree up before my brother's birthday, which is in the first week of December. So it always had to be up around the 1st or 2nd of December. And my mom still holds to that tradition, even though all of her boys have moved out and they're living their own lives in other places. She's still kept the family tradition. So she's got the whole house decorated with stockings and Christmas decorations and wreaths, and yeah, she goes all out on the inside too.
Very festive, I would say.
Very
Wow.
festive.
Yeah, yeah. I think my grandma, she had quite a few decorations as well. Like I remember she had a railing on the staircase that she always decorated with some, I don't even know what it would be. It's like fake or tinsel maybe, but it's like fake kind of pine tree looking stuff. And then some decorations that are on that. And she had a tree upstairs usually and a tree downstairs. The one upstairs or wherever we were going to be opening gifts was usually the fancy tree. So she had two trees and they were
Two trees.
artificial trees. She had one that was a white tree that was actually really cool because whatever lights you put on it, the tree would light up with that color.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she had wreaths and yeah, just, different things. She had, I think, snowmen and a nutcracker and all of the classics that you need to have for Christmas time.
Do you remember a star on top of the tree, or some people put an angel on the top? What do you remember?
I think that we had an angel on our tree with my parents, and I I don't know what was on my grandma's tree, but there's always something on top of the tree that lights up usually. But here in Mexico, I think we're like anti-festive or something. I don't know what happened to us. Last year, though, we were motivated. Every single year, what happens is we go out and we see all of these places. They're like the crazy Christmas light stores. Okay. And they're all over town. They start sometime around November. You start to see the crazy Christmas light stores. And it's like you drive by and it's like a insane discotheque or something, with all all of the Christmas lights that are all turned on and flashing and different colors. It's really, really crazy.
It
So
really is like a discotheque.
so we'd go by and every year, because we like Christmas lights, we go by and we're like, oh, we've really got to stop and get some Christmas lights. And every year we don't. But last year, finally, we stopped and we got a gigantic string of lights. And we were motivated to hang them up and we turned them on at night. It doesn't snow here in Mexico. It's also the dry season, so we don't have to worry about rain. But we said to ourselves, oh, we've got to take them down for the rainy season. The rain is going to ruin the lights. We can't leave them out. And what happened?
Well, we were Canadian once again and left the lights up.
Yeah.
We were too lazy to take them down. Not that it was cold or anything
We
here.
had no legitimate excuse. Maybe that it was too hot outside and we might have passed out from heat and humidity trying to take them down in July in Mexico. But anyway, luckily, our lights are still working and we get to turn them on. And that's about as festive as we get down here.
The salesman didn't lie to us. We asked him if they would be okay in the rain,
Yeah, if
and
they were indoor, outdoor lights, and he said they were okay, but I don't know. I still don't believe him.
Amy's like, he was just trying to make a sale.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I think that's it. Those are all the most obvious Christmas memories I think that we have. I hope that you guys enjoyed this conversation, and we will see you next year. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays and happy new year.